Take a seat!
Hi, this is Sarah reporting live with announcements. Number one, we're all canceled. Number two, just kidding. Every day, the MPC youth, we're going to be posting things on Instagram like questions and polls and things to pray for. Also, we are going to be doing a daily devotional starting on Monday in Galatians, so you do not want to miss it. Also, please follow Pastor John on YouTube. You will not regret it. It'll be amazing. Every day, it'll get better. So yeah, those are the announcements. And now Pastor Travis is going to lead us in a devotional in Psalms. Get excited.
All right, Dean, could you take attendance? Hey, everyone, and welcome to our first online Wednesday Night Alive of all time. First one ever. So tonight we're going to look at Psalm 121. So go ahead, pause the video, and read it. There will be some discussion, not discussion questions, but some examining the text questions in the description if you're on YouTube, or in the comments if you're on Instagram. So pause it, read Psalm 121, and answer those. All right, welcome back. So you may have noticed that this psalm is called a song of ascent. So the original audience probably wasn't singing this in gathered and corporate worship like we do on Sunday mornings, right? Instead, they were singing it as they were ascending or as they were going up somewhere. So where do you think they were ascending to? Go ahead, pause the video, and try to come up with an answer. And then unpause the video. All right, hopefully you have it. So they were ascending or going up to Jerusalem. So the way Israel is laid out, that no matter where you're coming from in Israel, you always have to go up to get to Jerusalem, or ascend to get to Jerusalem. So what's so significant about Jerusalem? Let's pause the video again and try to figure that out. All right, if you got it, hopefully you said Jerusalem is important because that's where the temple is, right? That's where worship is in Jerusalem. So the psalmist was on a long journey to the temple. So as he's on this journey, right, he looks off into the distance, he looks up to the hills, and the hills present many different challenges, right? First off, it's really hard to walk up a bunch of hills. Maybe not for some of you in here, but once you get old, like once you turn 30, it gets tough. There's lots of wild animals running around in Israel. I don't know what kind of animals there are. One of you probably knows. I wish you were here. You can tell me what kind of animals are in Israel. But then also there's robbers, right? There's robbers all over the place, just around the corner in the hills. And they could pop out and rob the psalmist at any time. And so he sees these overwhelming challenges all around him. And he asks himself, maybe in a moment of doubt, where does my help come from? But then he immediately answers his question. My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. And so if God made heaven and earth, that means that he rules heaven and earth. He rules over the wild animals that might attack the psalmist. He rules over all the robbers that might come and try to beat him up. Right? He even rules over the tiny little rocks that you might step on and make you twist your ankle. God rules over all of his creation. See, the Lord made heaven and earth, and the Lord will help the psalmist. So it's interesting how the psalmist explains this, right? And he ties the entire psalm together this way. So if you look at Psalm 121, he says that God made heaven and God made earth. But is that all that God made? You don't even have to pause the video for this one. We know the answer, right? No, that's not all that God made. He made heaven, and he made earth, and he made everything in between. So he uses one extreme on one hand, and then he uses another extreme, and it includes everything in the middle. And so when they do that in poetry, that's called a merism. Spelled M-E-R-ism, I-S-M, merism. And so he's going to use this several more times in Psalm 121 to tie the whole thing together. So keep an eye out for that. So then in verse 3, the psalmist says that God won't let your foot be moved. So why do you think it might be important for your foot not to be moved when you're walking up to Jerusalem? Go ahead and pause the video, come up with a good answer. All right, Dean came up with a great answer. Why do you think it would be important to not have your foot be moved if you're walking up to Jerusalem? Dean doesn't know. Dean doesn't have an answer. It would be bad for your foot to be moved if you're walking up because they didn't have hiking boots. They didn't have your stinky little chacos that you guys wear sometimes. They just had flip-flops and sandals. So if they turn their ankle, they can't call an ambulance to come rescue them, right, Sarah?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. They would be stuck out there all by themselves with the robbers and the wild animals. So they have to have God watch over them, God protect them. Dean was getting there. Hopefully you got it faster than him. So why won't God let your foot be moved? Because God never slumbers, nor does he sleep. And so those two words, it's another merism. It means that on the one hand, God never rests his eyes. Like, this is something my dad says a lot. He says, I'm just resting my eyes. I'm not sleeping. All right, so God never just rests his eyes. But God also never just sleeps hard. Maybe like how you sleep after a retreat or something, just completely out of it, like a little drool puddle, right, snoring, right? God's never a little asleep or heavy asleep, right? Or anywhere in the middle. God is always watching out for us. He's always vigilant, and he's always taking care of us. So then when we get to verses 5 through 8, there's a word that's repeated several times. Let's go ahead and look that up and try to figure out which word is repeated several times. All right, hopefully you found it. And I'm not going to call on anybody here because they don't have their Bibles. But what word is that? That word is keep. The word is keep that's repeated several times. Or keeper, it's the same word. So when we think of keeping something, we don't think it's that important a lot of times, right? So if I say, I keep my socks in the top drawer of my dresser, well, like top two drawers in my dresser, because I have a lot of socks, you think, your socks don't matter, right? You keep them there, then you probably forget about them. But the Hebrew word doesn't just mean to keep something there. It means to guard it or to watch over it. So when you see that word keep, replace it with to guard or to watch over. Or keeper, maybe a guardian. So we see God's power to preserve us in verses 5 and 6 when it speaks of his power over the sun and over the moon. So again, God made the sun, and he made the moon, and he made everything in between. It says, the Lord is your shade on your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. And the right hand signifies being close to somebody, being closeness. So God is not far off, right? God is not far from us. He's not letting us fend for ourselves, or like a deist might believe. He didn't just make the world and then take a step back and say, you guys figure it out. Right? God is very close to us, and God is with us. Instead, if you look back at Psalm 46, which Pastor John preached on recently, it says that God is close at hand. He's our refuge and our strength. He's a very present help in time of need. So he protects us from the sun, which can kill you in the daytime, right? It gets really hot in Israel. And the moon, which is often equated with like going crazy or being a lunatic, right? Being loony by night. So there's another merism, right? The day and the night. God protects us from all things. And these aren't trivial things, right? It's not like, there's a tiny little lizard that might jump out and get you, but God protected you, right? These are big things. The very sun that we continually revolve around, whose presence signifies the passing of time and the beginning of a new day, right? Whose warmth comforts us. This great ball of burning gases that marks the passage of time, even that is under God's control. And so that gets us to the last two verses. And I want to focus on two words here. And those two words are all and forevermore. So if you look at the last two verses, maybe underline those two. So God will keep or guard you from all evil, right? Not just the big stuff, not just the little things, but everything, right? The really bad and the day-to-day stuff. God cares about every single part of your life, even the little parts. So God cares about this crazy worldwide pandemic. Did I say that right? Pandemic. All right, he cares about that. And he cares about maybe like the loneliness you're feeling right now, or maybe how you're a little bit sad because it's rained for 40 days in a row, right? God cares about even the small things. And then God promises to be there with us even through it. And not just every now and then, right? Not like he'll come by, he'll check in, he'll see how you're doing. But God will be with you from this time forth and forevermore. So to infinity, God will be with you. And that means that you can't go anywhere at any time and not be guarded by the hand of the Almighty Maker of heaven and earth. And this is very good news. So there's 3 points that I think we can remember. This is the application, and it's pretty easy to remember. So let's look at it. The first one, God is powerful. Right? So God made heaven and earth, so he's powerful. Second is that God is watchful. Right? He doesn't sleep. He doesn't take a break. He's watching over us all the time. And third, God is willing to look after us. So it would be one thing if God was powerful, but then he didn't want to look after us. But God's powerful, and he does. He chooses to watch over us, to guard us. So that's tonight. There's going to be some discussion questions, again, in the link below, right, in the comments or in the description. So take a look at those, discuss those amongst yourself. I think one question asked if you can reply in a comment so we can all see how we're doing. So that's it for today. Hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Close in prayer. I think it's a little weird to pray on video, so pray on your own. All right. Good job. Yeah, good.